Muriel Bowser.
Yes, how about that? Well,
thanks for joining us
guys.
today. Good morning.
No, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. But I, for one, will be rooting on the home team, and I hope that we go all the way. I think what you heard is what a lot of Washingtonians were surprised about, that an elected official could actually have a 7-year tantrum and not support our team.
You call it a 7-year tantrum, and you say that speaks to his demeanor and the way he conducts himself, comports himself on the public stage.
Well, absolutely. You know, you win some, you lose some when you're in politics. And whether you supported the deal or not, the fact is the District of Columbia built this stadium. We have a great team, and so many people have been brought together across all 8 wards in our city with a sense of civic pride that is really second to none. And more than that, the stadium is spinning off tremendous economic benefits in terms of jobs and housing around it and other economic development opportunities near the stadium.
To Councilmember Catania's credit, he did say, though, during the debate that if he's elected mayor, he'll go. So there you go. I mean, if you make him mayor...
We're going to make sure that doesn't happen.
So, Ms. Bowser, yesterday you had another debate, and Mr. Catania came after you with regard to, your gravitas. Here, listen to this.
Well, but there's a difference, Kojo. There's a difference between an uninformed platitude and actually doing the heavy lifting.
You know, I've had about enough of Mr. Catania and his uninformed, and she doesn't have the intellect, and she's not smart.
Yeah, I mean, and you went off. I mean, why don't you continue that thought here, Ms. Bowser? I mean, what do you think's behind that constant refrain that you lack substance?
Well, yeah, this campaign has been really characterized from his part by negativity and no real plan for the future. And what I hear from residents all across the city is that they just reject that out of hand. They want a member that will bring people together and not tear the city apart. And that's exactly what we have been able to do for the last 7 years.
All right. So, what are you going to? Do you think the other burning issues are going to be as we get closer and closer to Election Day?
Well, this is what I think is interesting, is that, you know, that many Vermont people have said, let's have these debates, and I'm just really proud to be able to go to these debates and stand up to this negativity and bullying, and put on the plan our priorities for the future. A couple of weeks ago, I issued a priorities plan that covers everything from how we get to good schools and affordable housing, and more importantly, how we talk about growing the middle class in Washington, a city that's growing at the rate that ours is. We want to keep that prosperity going, but make sure we're including more people, and I think that will continue to be the main issue for voters in the District of Columbia.
You know, there's been some discussion down at the district building about changing the insurance laws or the insurance laws in the District of Columbia so that it's more favorable toward people who ride bicyclists. We've talked about this for the last couple of days, and a lot of people who've called into this program say that they're very concerned about this, that they feel like, you know, the bicyclists in this town are not obeying the laws, they are not insured, they're not registered, they get away with murder when they're, blowing through traffic lights and that kind of stuff. How do you feel about this idea that we need to change the insurance law that's been on the books since the time that we started driving cars in the District of Columbia?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that we need to change is driver education and bicyclist education. You put your finger on the biggest problem. Drivers need some predictability about how cyclists are going to behave, and the reverse is true. So I will have a focus on making sure we're improving our bicycle infrastructure, but also that we're educating everybody about how to better share the road. Any changes to the law, we have to, of course, look at very closely to make sure we don't have any, effects that we didn't intend.
Muriel Bowser, when you were running in the primaries and all of your opponents that came here on Mornings on the Mall during the primaries, I would ask all of you the same question. The one thing that angers more people in the District of Columbia more than anything else is the congestion problem and the parking problem. And almost all of you said the same thing. Well, we need to get more people on Metro and we need more people riding bikes. I am very pleased to see that you have actually added to that in your priorities for the district plan. Why don't you tell me what you're going to do about parking and congestion?
Well, I do think we have a parking problem in our city, and largely because we have one plan for Ward 2, one plan for Ward 6, one plan for Ward 4, and so it goes to all 8 wards. And we need to have a systematic parking strategy in the District of Columbia that's going to allow us to park more cars. Now, we know how fast we're growing. There'll be another 150,000 people here in 25 years, so everybody can't drive. But we have to do more with the parking capacity that we have. And another item that we're going to add to our plan, it's a growing document, a growing plan for our future, is how we better have traffic moving through the city. From Maryland, this is a regional problem, and we have to attack it regionally. And so from Maryland to D.C. to Virginia, how can we have roads and traffic lights that work better for traffic flow?
We only have a minute left here, Muriel Bowser, but over the last 2 weeks, Dan Snyder, owner of the Redskins, has suggested that he wants a new stadium. I'm thinking that this will come up if you are the mayor during your term, and I'm sure you'd love that football team in the district. Are you going to make them change their name if they come to Washington, D.C.?
Well, I think we many of us agree that there's no sense in offending large groups of people, and that the name should change. And I think that's a growing sentiment across the District of Columbia. I'll also say a strong sentiment in our city is that we want our team back. And I got to think Dan Snyder realizes that he's only going to win when he comes back home.
Okay, but will he be welcomed back home by you and your administration if the team name remains the same?
I think that we have 10 years or going on. I'm not getting that number exactly right when their lease ends, and we have to renegotiate at RFK. So we have a lot of years to figure that out.
I'm thinking that's going to be building. They're going to be building that.
I don't think he's going to be interested in having conversations if this is still on the table. All right.
Well, it may not be a question in a couple of years.
All right. Well, there you go. Muriel Bowser, always a pleasure. We want to mention also that we have extended the invitation to David Catania to be on the program.
And Ms. Schwartz has come on a few times.
She's been on already. So thank you for joining us. It is now
all the time, and I want to be considered, a go-to person when you have questions about DC.
Oh, absolutely!
Well, absolutely. You're on our.
You're like a co-host at this point, Ms. Bowser.
You're on our speed dial.
That's how I like it. That's how I like it. I'll see you. Are we going to talk before the election?
Yeah,
you betcha.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.